So we're Zoho Premium Partners based here in Atlanta, veteran-owned company because I'm a veteran. But we've got a team of about 26 people all throughout the world who do different Zoho things. We're a Zoho shop, it's the core of our business. And it's an honor to be here today to help impart some of that knowledge to you guys.
Yeah, CloudQ, we are based in Atlanta. We headquartered in Atlanta, and we have a office in US, Canada, India, and Dubai. So this is the first time I am personally meeting Zoho, Meetup like this. So our team in India and Dubai, they used to go for Zoho Zia meetups and presentation and all. So we as a company, we are headquartered, like I said, in Atlanta, Georgia. We have 600 employees globally. So we are partnering with Zoho, and we wanted to understand how Zoho work with the customers and users. Like I said, this is my first time in a Zoho meetup. So my knowledge is limited. So I'm here to explore more and understand what Zoho is doing for the customers. I used to see a lot of Zoho videos, and I used to follow Zoho. So I'm actually, as a beginner for this Zoho meetup, so I will just sit and listen and see what's happening. Thank you very much.
So what does CloudQ do? It's not, because I'm familiar with Cloud HQ. No, that's different from CloudQ.
Yeah, that's different. We are CloudQ. We are in Alpharetta, Georgia. CloudQ.net. We are a CRM partner company. So we are also a Salesforce partner company too. So basically, what kind of service you ask, we do customization, integration, development. We also do staffing services. We work with major telecom companies like T-Mobile, AT&T, and we also work with healthcare companies. We work with the retail companies. We work with one of the biggest utilities company in America.
So this is the home screen of Zoho CRM. It's like a bird's eye view of your entire organization. Okay, so in the dashboard, you can see what are all the deals you have, new leads coming in, and you can even have shared dashboard with your colleagues, right? So we have modules on the left hand side. Basically, it's different components where you store the data. So it starts with the leads module, the first point of contact, where you add all the raw data, all the prospects or the meta ads, any integration or web forms, any inquiries coming in. So you will be adding into the lead section. So now how do you add it? So you can add it as manually by just clicking on the create lead button, or we do have other options such as importing, connecting with Facebook, integrating with other applications. After a lead enters into the system, so this is how it looks like. So you can see all the basic details. We have different fields to store different set of data. So you can also customize the fields because every company works different ways and you need more data of your business scenario. So how do you customize it? So you can just click on the three dots icon for any module and you can click on this field section. So you can try to customize any field. So now once the lead enters into the system, you can try to contact with them. So we do have the send mail option where you can try to send an email manually or using an automation. So you can try to connect with any telephony. You can try to connect with WhatsApp. So you will have more options based on the integrations you have. Now we do have an option to create open activities such as a task, meeting and call. So what are these open activities? In order to get in touch with customers apart from email and so on the calls, so we can also try using this. So when you use a task, it's like an internal to-do. So it's for you or your colleagues or anyone, it's like an internal to-do. So you just click on the task, you try to put in a subject, a due date, some priority and reminders. You can make some recurring tasks as well. Okay, so we have one more activity which is a meeting. So what is a meeting? If you would like to meet a client either online or offline, you create a meeting. So you send them the invite and all the conversation will be recorded here. And now we have call option. So if you try to connect with your telephony, you can directly make a call from the CRM. So all the call logs will be stored. And with the AI, we can also do the transcription. So we can also schedule the call or log a call to get the reminders or to manually log in. So these are all the ways you try to get in touch with your prospects. So a lead is a prospect. Of course, you try to follow up with them, understand their requirements, all of that. And once you got to understand clearly what exactly they are expecting from you or what service they have selected and everything, you try to convert this lead into an account and contact. So basically the next two modules, account and contact. So this refers to your actual customer's data. So account is B2B and contact is B2C. So when you try to convert a lead, right, so it will try to fetch all the information into the contacts. As you can see here, for this lead, there is no company. So the company is empty. That's why when I'm trying to convert, it is just pushing the information into the contact. So once the details are coming into accounts and contacts, there won't be any data loss. All the field details, all the activities, email conversations, calls and WhatsApp, whatever is connected, it will continue forward into the accounts and contacts. Right? So when you're trying to do business with them, if there is an opportunity, you can try to create a deal for the contact or account. So as you can see here, there is a contact. For that, there is a deal. So a deal is a pipeline where you can manage all the stages, as you can see here. And even these stages can also be customizable. So the ultimate goal is to move this into closed bound. So even here in the deals module, you can try to add in the activities, try to send the follow-up emails, all the conversations. Pretty much you can find it here as. So we have reports module on the left hand side. So you can see all the default reports specifically for every module. We choose the leads module. We have leads by industry, leads by status, source and everything. So just you can open that and you can look into the reports. If you want, you can customize it or maybe you can clone, export or create a quick chart. Okay, so this is the basic intro about what exactly a CRM is and the basic modules of CRM and default reports. So we can deep dive in. I think I can even make a full session with this, but we have a different agenda. So once you're clear with this, I want to then proceed into the automation.
If I could point out one thing, one neat thing here is you can trigger other actions to happen based off of score changes. And we've helped a lot of clients with, I think when you think of scoring, you think perhaps of gauging the interest that a lead has with using your services, right? Which is definitely one obvious way to use lead scoring, but you can also use it to qualify. Like if your business, like if you're in the chocolate bar manufacturing equipment business, there could be criteria that are data fields in your lead of like what state, like what country they're in, because you only sell to certain countries, right? And you can score based off of that. So you can also use it for qualifying to see who's even a potential customer and then give people a negative score that aren't qualified. And then that qualifying scoring rule can then mark their lead status to not qualified, if it goes to a certain negative score. Alrighty, so thanks Karishma for workflows. And now I'm gonna call it the main attraction. But we're going to talk about AI and Zoho, specifically Zia agents. As the CEO, and I'm largely in the sales role now at our company, I don't get to what I call nerd out as much and develop and, touch everything inside of the Zoho systems as much as I used to. So it was really fun this past week getting ready, working with it. We actually have an AI specific developer who's doing amazing things, but it was fun to work with him and collaborate and build some agents, actually build some of these Zia agents and test it out. And so Zia is Zoho's AI model, basically. And it's been around for a while, like 5-6 years. It started very early days. You could do things like ask it in analytics to build a report or something. And it would work maybe 42% of the time, but it's come a long way. And it's come to the point now where there's actual agents that you can deploy inside of different Zoho applications. Today, we're going to be talking about Zia agents inside of Zoho CRM specifically, but there's also very handy agents that you can deploy, you can build from scratch or go to a store, a marketplace and deploy for Zoho Desk and other commonly used Zoho applications. So these are the ones that I'm going to talk about today. We've actually built these. So examples 1 and 2, I built into one agent, but it basically enriches a lead first. So it extracts data and fills out fields in your lead record with that data. And then after that, because now it has more data in the lead record, the agent is going to recommend what your email should be. So I'm going to jump into that one first. The last one is one of the ones that you can hire from the Zoho Marketplace. So you can hire, they've built about 30 pre-built agents. And yeah, so this one you can just hire straight from the store, and you just have to click a few buttons to deploy it. I'm going to show you the one that I built that enriches the lead, the data in the lead record, and then recommends an email first. Because I think going through the rest of it will make more sense to you once you've seen it in use. So this is my leads record, leads module in a demo instance. And I'm going to click into this lead, and I don't know where you get your leads from. If it's a list, people fill out a form online, but this is really handy, especially if someone provides you a list of potential insurance customers, right? So this is a lead record. I want to point out a couple of things. And just to give you the context, this company sells services, similar to what we do. They sell financial or implementation or software services. We just have basics: phone number, email, lead name. So I just want to point out that most of these fields are blank, right? But we do have a company description. And in my company's example, we use Apollo. If anyone's familiar with Apollo or Zoom Info, where you can gather details about potential clients. And then we just dump all of that information into this one field. We've got a lot of information in that field, but it's not usable. It's just this big text field that you can't use. You can't run a workflow against it. You can't build a report. You can't do anything because it's in this big text field. So I'm going to press my custom button here, lead enrichment and follow-up, this is the agent. So this is the trigger that activates this agent. And remember, the idea is first, it's going to fill out a lot of those fields in the lead record. Then once it's done that, it has all this context, and it's going to recommend an email. So this agent is a little limited in its scope, but you can also add to it to look at email history, look at call history. You can really add a lot of these to make them very powerful. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's replying to me that the task was completed successfully and the lead record's been enriched. I also have it putting the recommended email in a note field for the purpose of this demo, but it could invoke your email client and actually create the draft email for you if you desired. It could actually send the email for you if you so desired. I would not recommend that, especially early days trying to learn how this works. We're deploying this actually for our company. And what it will happen is it will basically press the send email button inside of Zoho CRM and then populate that with the information that I'm going to show you now. Again, you can look at the timeline to see what was updated, but you can see it updated all of these fields. So going back to those fields, you can see it populated the company name, it populated the annual revenue, the number of employees, which may be useful for you, number of locations. So, again, this will be tailored to your use case if you decide to build it. You'll build it around what you do. So I've given it instructions to pull from this field. So it's pulling from this text field. But the instructions could be, you could connect Apollo or some data source. You could connect some external data source and you could tell it to go there. If you're going to use an actual form and get them to fill it out, I'd use the CRM web forms and I would just map it to those exact fields that you need. So yeah, this would be if you had holes in that data perhaps, and you needed to use an additional data source. So in that response box, you could have it display sources, references, things like that. You could also have it store somewhere else in this record, like a note is an obvious place. Let me get through this example, and then when I get to building the agent, I'll point out some places where you can do that. So yeah, so that was the first step, lead enrichment, which you can see it did the fields that we wanted it to enrich. So state is a big one in our use case, location. And then you can see it created this recommended email. And again, if you were to deploy this in real time, it would basically be like hitting the send email button, and then this would be in the body of the email. But it's saying, "Dear Daniel, thank you for your interest." And I have in the instructions of this agent that when the location is Georgia, to play that up. So this agent knows that if that address came back as Georgia, to point out in this email that, hey, we're also in Georgia, because that means something to people. And then it's just taking some context like, hey, we help other people in your industry, because I don't know if it populated industry. It should have. I don't know why it didn't, but it should have populated dentistry here or medical equipment. And then it would have used, I'm not sure why it didn't do that in this demo, but then it would have also layered that into this email, like, hey, we've helped, we are able to help people in the cosmetic dentistry business, things like that. This is for an individual record. You could have also built this to do multiple records at a time. This is where you would build the agent. I hope that gives you some context of the ability. And as I'm showing you how to build one, I think it will make a little more sense because you saw the final product. So agents.zoho.com is where you can get to the agent studio. You can also access it through CRM. CRM settings and agents, like I said, you can get there 2 different ways. I prefer to just go straight to the agent studio, but as Karishma just pointed out, you can go here. You can see my agents that I've got deployed already. So we're going to create a new agent, and we're basically going to replicate the agent that I just demonstrated. We're actually not going to go all the way through because the connections are a little bit of a pain in the butt to identify all the scopes for, but it's going to make sense for you. I'm going to show you how you would have done it. So you have 2 options, create from scratch or create with Zia AI. I think that it's very important to learn how to build these from scratch, at least initially, so that you know how to prompt AI and you know the inner workings in case you need to tweak what the AI created for you. So we're going to do create from scratch, and some key points here. This is just your name of your agent. I'm just going to use my initials. This description is not used by the AI. It's really just your description that explains to you and your team what this agent does. And then you can pick models here. OpenAI is the only other model that comes out of the box. For our example, we used the Zoho hosted, and we used, I can't remember if it's Flash or QWEN. We have connected our Zia agents to our Claude though. We use Claude in our shop. And so we have our actual production version of Zoho hooked up to Claude. Agent role is descriptive. Think of this as you're hiring this agent, whether you're going to use it as an employee, which you can do. You can have this complex agent that can do multiple things. I haven't had success pulling that off yet, and I wouldn't recommend it at this point of time, just in AI in general, not a Zoho specific thing, but I called Delta the other day. They had an AI employee trying to help me change my ticket, and it was a nightmare. So there's an option here to deploy this as a digital employee. So this role, if it was an employee, you would put like sales assistant. In our case, this is a very specific thing. So it's going to be lead, enricher, and follow up, right? And this is the fun part and where you need to put your focus. These are the actual instructions. So this AI agent is going to refer to this first and foremost for what it's doing. This takes a lot of iteration. I think this is version 19. If anyone that uses AI knows you have to iterate a lot with AI just in general. So your first shot at this, I think you could use Claude or whatever AI you use to help you write this instruction. My first instructions to this agent were, I want to enrich and fill out fields in this lead record, simple as that. Secondly, I want you to make a recommended initial email body for this lead. And then I gave it other instructions like a soft call to action. I don't want to be pushy. I want to point out that we're also from Georgia if their state is Georgia, things like that. And then there were some other things like never delete records, never access other Zoho CRM records, things like that, just to make sure it didn't go off the tracks, but you can see that that evolved into these very detailed instructions, thanks to Claude helping us rewrite this. So some things like global rules, only work in that lead, don't search around the CRM for anything else, don't update any records related to the lead, and then just further detail on each task because it's doing these 2 specific tasks here. So the lead enrichment, you can use a knowledge base, which we didn't do here. We just dumped it all in the agent instruction, right? I'm going to show you the knowledge base next. And so, but this next bit that I'm going to show you would have been best in a text document in the knowledge base, where you're kind of giving it field mapping. So you'll know from your data source, if you're using Apollo, which is what we use to create lists of potential clients, you'll know the structure of how that data is and how you're going to put it in your CRM. So you'll be able to tell it, in this case, our data source would use organization name instead of company name. So we're telling it here that the company field in leads should be filled out with either the organization or the company name. This would be better suited as its own text document, not in the agent instructions, though, just to be clear. If you're unsure, just don't put anything. I'm telling it, never overwrite existing data. If there's real data in the field, never overwrite it in the lead record. The email should be between 100, 150 words, tone friendly, professional, non-pushy, include a clear call to action, which is always, hey, do you have time for a call? Or do you think we could help you with this? Don't invent things. Hallucination is a buzzword in the AI space right now. So we're telling it specifically, don't do that. And then we're telling it where to put that email in the note. The second component to building your agent is the knowledge base. And so, like I said, if you have SOPs, if you have sales process, if you have a list of industries that you sell to and a list of industries you don't sell to, things like that, you want to put those in really not PDFs. You want to put them in text documents or markup documents. So you can turn a PDF into a text document. It's just easier for AI to deal with text versus a PDF, which is more like images. It has to scan. It's just harder work for the AI. So yeah, you can upload documents here. You can also, let me show you. This is where you add your knowledge base documents. And then this is a central place that you can build 10 agents and you can have each agent reference all of the same documents, different documents, things like that. So it's highly advisable to add SOPs and whatever you have that can tell the AI what you guys do as a company, like your company profile documents, your sales deck, things like that. Kind of like those scoring rules that Karishma showed earlier. You could have a document that explains, I sell insurance in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, and sometimes in Alabama, and sometimes in North Carolina, and then I can't sell these states. You could build out a nice document that explains to the AI who you can sell to and like how, like the nuances in the state. Like maybe you can't email certain things because of PHI rules in Alabama or something. So you would want to explain that to the AI in these knowledge-based articles. Oh, here we go.
Fine.
Here we go.
So that's curious, right? So what does the agent bring that you couldn't already do in CRM through automation or manual one-to-one or campaigns one-to-many? That's where I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan.
Okay. You can just teach it via the knowledge base. So these are models. This is not like some big model that's actually going to learn as you do this, really. It's going to access your records that you've connected to it. So in this case, Zoho CRM. Back to tools. Tools and connections is the other building block. So we had the basic instructions and name. Then we had knowledge base. Now we're telling the agent what it can connect to. It's basically API connections. So if we go to add tools, you can see that most of the Zoho applications are already added here. So these are the different, basically API puts, posts, gets, things like that you can do with Zoho applications. We'll go to CRM and you can see once it loads that there's hundreds of different things you can do inside of CRM. One thing that I want to point out here is that it's important with API calls to dial in your scope. It's way more important and essential with AI. API calls, you're telling it exactly what to do each time. AI can do things on its own. You'll see that I've only selected 8 tools that this AI can do, and it's really easy. This does take a little time. That's why I'm not building the agent live and showing you. But it's really easy to just select everything and give your AI access to do everything in your system. Don't do that. You know, this tool that we built doesn't have access to delete, for example. You could give it permission to delete and something could go wrong and it could delete all your records. You can do this. These can be very complex. As you can see, you can do unlimited amount of things here. Okay, so I just want to get back to my scopes that I gave this. So I added that it can update the note, update a lead record, get a contact record, which wasn't even necessary. So it's very specific. It can't search other things. It can only do what I want it to do inside of one lead record. You can also add custom tools here. So this is where you would add custom things that don't come out of the box in those pre-built connections and tools. I mean, I wouldn't build a Zia agent for something that specific because that could just be a workflow, right? That when you change some field in the lead that it would clone, that it would create another one. But if you wanted to create another one and then do a lot of stuff with it, maybe you would make it a Zia agent. Like if you wanted it to automatically send the email and have all that context, you could tell it, you could try just with the Zia AI prompt, like, hey, I have a use case where a lot of my contacts go back to leads, or I need to clone them and then create them as a lead. Please use all of the same relevant fields. Connections, the tools that connect to your different apps. That was the third building block. When you're creating one of these new, the last thing will be these guardrails. So fairness and bias are always going to come check. Toxicity check is going to be defaulted to check. But you can create custom guardrails as well. I don't know if you remember from my instructions, but I just typed the guardrails in my instructions. Never delete other records. Don't look at other records, things like that. Those are the building blocks. So we've built this agent. So you press deploy, and again, you're going to see this option to deploy as a digital employee. Don't do it. Deploy using connection. It's just so much simpler and easy. So this will come defaulted to letting the model pick what it should use for its parameters. And I know this is a little technical. It's probably the most technical portion of this. My simple advice would be just read these kind of layman terms. Like for module, you could type that it's always leads, but the model does a pretty good job for everything except record IDs. So remember, this is getting deployed as a custom button in the lead record. So when you press the custom button, you have the response of everything that's currently in the lead record. So the lead ID is the most important thing. So the system, this AI agent already has that information. You don't want it trying to go find the lead record again. So for a lot of the IDs, you'll want to put on trigger, and it's just passing kind of the JSON, if anyone knows what that is, response, and it's going to use the lead record ID that's there when you press that button. So long story short, for some of the IDs, I would put on trigger, like the record ID for the lead. You can try, if this is too technical for you, you could leave model clicked on for everything. It should still do the job. But if you're having issues and it's not performing, this is one of the things that I would come back and hone in some of these record IDs to being on trigger. So next, you're going to tell it which CRM portal. And then if this is your first time doing this, you would just need to create a new connection here, right? But I already have mine. So I'm just going to pick that and then set it as the target. Okay, so it would be sitting, if you've built the agent in the studio, it would now be sitting in CRM as not configured. You're going to set it up, select the module as leads. We're going to create that button, right? So this is the trigger, that button that I pressed earlier. This is where you're going to create it. So this is where you pick whether it's just for one record at a time, which is what ours is for, or if you're going to invoke this for multiple leads or records in your CRM, you'll want to put it in the list view. So now our button is created, and now you just have to pick, those trigger IDs that were on that one screen. What are the triggers? The trigger in this case is the custom button. I'm only deploying it as a custom button. So we're going to hire an agent. This brings you to the marketplace where you can pick different pre-built agents, and you're going to see how easy this is. So definitely check out this marketplace to see if any of these add value to you. And the way to think about these, again, with this digital employee, you can have this complex thing and try to build an agent that does all this stuff. But I like to view AI in general, and especially the Zia AI agents, as agents that do specific things in your company that save a lot of time, right? It's processes that save time or ensure accuracy. That's how I like to view this. So we're extracting from leads and filling out the fields to prevent fat fingering, and it saves time. And we're creating that follow-up email because it's gonna add more context and it's gonna save your sales people time, right? So this is the second option. And I think you should try to build from scratch first, to be honest, before you use the Zia route, just so you can understand what to tell Zia to build your AI agent. Yeah, so we hired this deal insight miner. You see it comes with, it's using OpenAI as the model. Zoho doesn't want you to know their prompting engineering, so they've redacted all of that. But you can see this is going to analyze the deal and provide insights such as probability, next steps, follow-up suggestions. So the tools are already preloaded here. The only thing you really can layer in here is the knowledge base if you want to tell it additional things to reference. There are Zoho partners that have built agents like what we just showed you. Yeah. But it would have to be rewritten from scratch. It can't just be deployed to you. So this is the store, again, the store of pre-built agents, and we have our deal insight miner. So when you're creating one of these, you need to create a new connection or reuse an existing connection. This is the test screen. It's not useful in this use case. So we're just going to go straight to deploying this again as a connection. You can leave this alone when you're hiring these agents from the store. It's already locked and loaded with what you need. In those parameters that you set up, you'll have to give it the tool to get related records, and then you'll specify there which module. So you'll tell it the policies custom module, and then you'll just pass as the ID to look up all of the related policies related to that contact. It's basically what you'll be telling it. And then the agent will have all of those policies and can act on it with your prompt, with a simple prompt that you're telling. This is the deal analyzer. And so the idea here, right, is a salesperson could spend a lot of time analyzing a deal because there's a related account record, there's a related contact record. The contact has emails related to it. The contact has calls related to it, meetings, notes. The deal has related notes, emails, calls. The account has different contact people, different stakeholders. So there's all these different places that a salesperson would need to click around to build the context of what is this deal, what is it about, what are my next steps, things like that. So the idea with this is to just build it all in one report. So we've pressed that button, it's gone to the different places, gathered information, and now it's presenting in a easier to digest report form what's going on with the deal. So you can see it's giving you basic information on the deal when it's created, company size, things like that. It's breaking down what some of the drivers or pain points are and then making a decision on this deal. It's looking at the related contacts, on who the stakeholders are. amount of the deal, potential amount, competitors, it's identifying risks, it's giving a high level next step. That's just the first section. So then it's got this, kind of analysis and scoring, which is a probability. It's really like a probability of closing the deal. Now it's giving you a more detailed next best action, and it's contextual. It's using the context that it gathered from this deal record and the related record. It's recommending how to write that email, going over some risks, an incentive strategy. It picked up, that the CEO somewhere here, it picked up that the CEO has already committed the budget, right? Because it's in a note, or it's in some field, or it's in a related email, right? It's telling you the CEO already has the budget for this deal. I think everyone can see the value of something like this for a salesperson. I just had one more thing I wanted to speak to, and then I'll pass it to you. So does anyone know what Zoho MCP is? Does anyone know what a MCP is? Okay, Model Context Protocol. I like to think of it kind of as Zapier or Zoho Flow for AI, but basically an MCP, in this case Zoho MCP, has pre-built connections, system parameters, all of these things to your Zoho applications and to the AI models, right? So it's already pre-built a lot of the scope, like you saw me picking the scopes that an agent should use, things like that. What you can do is then you can deploy things that you've built in Zoho MCP to your AI tool of choice. In our instance, it's Claude. So we've added this specific use case as a skill in our company's Claude. So we use the deals module for any potential deal that we have with a client, and we add things like the scope of work. We use a subform to put tasks in on what we're going to be delivering for the client. You can teach your Claude what to do with it, and Zoho MCP is a shortcut in connecting the two. It connects to the deals module, and then Claude is able to create, in this case, our scope of work. This is something that we actually use, which saves us hours and hours of time. Again, finding use cases for AI and agents that saves a lot of time and ensures accuracy. So they input the data into the deal, and then we basically run a prompt in Claude. And because of Zoho MCP as a big shortcut and already having the connections and parameters built, we're able to just use Claude chat prompting. Instead of having to do all this technical stuff every time, we're able to just chat to Claude to finish up a scope of work, and it ends up in a finished product similar to this. This is redacted to protect privacy, but yeah, we're using Zoho MCP to basically create a very detailed scope of work that saves our business analysts 4 to 6 hours of effort. So anyway, I know that's not exactly Zoho Agents, that's not what we're here to talk about today, but it is another Zoho AI tool that is very useful, big time saver, not that hard to use because it's a big shortcut. It's similar to Zapier or Zoho Flow. One other quick note before I pass it on is there some other options there to deploy the Zia agents to Click. If you use Click, and you can kind of invoke Zia agents there. Or I think what she's going to cover is you can use a chat agent on your website. You can deploy it as a chat agent.
Okay, I'll just take a few minutes of your time. I need your full attention here because every one of you here to create an agent. So let's build a live agent. Okay, before we go for creating a live agent, I'll brush a few topics. I don't know how many of you are aware of Zoho products here and Zoho AI here. So I'll just give a quick brush up. Okay. So within Zoho CRM, you can see this Zia on the right part, right? So this is our Zoho's own LLM. So we are not using Claude. Before we jump on to other open AI sources, this is our Zoho's LLM. It's all inbuilt, and whatever the data that Zoho LLM is using, it's all totally secured, staying inside the Zoho. You can also ask what are the next steps. So it is reading your data from the day. No matter you have 1 lead or 10 leads or thousands of data inside your CRM, it is all reading your data since the day one, and it is trying to give you the best practices depending on what questions you are asking. So you use this Zoho Zia own LLM here. to get more insights of your data. It can also give you reports quickly. You can just promptly like, hey, what are all the open needs for this month? Or what are all the overdue tasks for this week? So you ask any questions, Zia will try to fetch in the data and give the details immediately. Now, when you go to the workflow from the settings, there is this option called create workflow using Zia, and you tell Zia what to create and it will directly give you the entire automation on its own. So I have a template in my system. I'm asking Zia to create a workflow for my leads on the date of birth every year with particular template. Now it is trying to analyze my content and it's going to create step 1, step 2, step 3, and it's going to create an email on its own. And if something went wrong, you can also see why is it going wrong, maybe a permissions issue, or maybe it's not able to read your template, or anything went wrong, you can see that from here. Now, using Zia, you can enrich the data just by clicking on this button, and it will do the web scraping, bring in all the details. You see here, if you have Zoho forms, of course, if the users are filling in the details, you can sync it with Zoho CRM. But if you don't have much of the data, you can do this Zia enrich and fill in more detail. We have seen how to create using multiple components. Okay. So if you see this, we have basic info. We have to specify who is this agent. Whether it is an assistant to summarize, assistant to analyze the data, assistant to see the duplicates. What exactly is this agent? You need to specify that. And then you have to specify the knowledge base as we have discussed in the previous meeting. Like whether or not to search something from your, a list of house rules, right? Else you can also specify the tools. Tools are something that what actions that they are doing, whether they are able to update, fetch, delete. Those are the tools that you have to specify, and then the house rules sent to work. Now you define where to host it from Zoho or host it from external sources, it's up to you. And the models will define the accuracy. I just go with the latest one, provide the route. Now, the important part is instructions. So this is where you have to specify an agent what to do. Consider this like a baby. So you have to carefully nurture the baby and tell them what to do exactly, the thing that you're like to achieve. Read the lead record. Okay, I'm just putting in simple terms. You can even use Claude or Zoho Zia agent to describe it very, very big. So I just give simply 3 steps. So what it has to do, it has to read the lead and then get the details and then summarize the next actions. Okay. And then I try to choose get emails and get meetings, get calls. You choose your agents, you choose your tools, whatever the data you're trying to fetch. So I have opened 2 tabs, one this lead that I'm testing and one the skeleton of AI agent which is already here. Good, okay. Now before I test or deploy it, I want to talk about this concept called as parameters. So the tools, the permissions that I have given to agent, right? So I'm clicking on this set parameters. So I want to explain you about these 3, model, constant and trigger. So model means model will try to understand, which is the agent will try to understand what exactly to be selected for all of these permissions. So I left everything to model because I have specified clearly in the instruction. Else you can specify what is the module name, what is the